Recently, my father-in-law pulled me aside and asked me to just explain the history of Israel and this Palestinian crisis and why is the world so focused on the state of Israel. It makes no sense to him. He knows that I've traveled to Israel a few times, and he says, there's no natural resources there. The place is the size of Rhode Island. It has no real strategic value in the world. Why does it make the news almost every day? Why the Arabs and the Palestinians and the Jews and Iran and all of these different things, historically, traditionally, religious, where does this all come from? And as he said, it makes no sense. And he brought up this really interesting point. He says, there are so many places in the world that have strategic value that are on a canal somewhere, on a main transportation hub, natural resource territory, or what have you. And he says, it makes no sense with Israel. I mean, almost every government in the world has a department dedicated 24 hours a day to what's going on in Israel. And what is this? Why is this? Does this seem to be the holiest site for Islam, for the Jew, for the Christian? What's going on there? And as he talked, and as I was sharing some history and going back, I said, you nailed it. By definition, it has to be a spiritual matter. You see, you're right. If all of these governments have the lights on 24 hours a day in a department dedicated to this land, if we all care about what's going on here, and we look at the tensions, and we look at the history, and we open our Jewish scriptures, we open our Christian scriptures, we open our Islamic scriptures, and we read these, the tension by definition has to be spiritual. We look at a people, the Jewish people, that were kicked out of Israel. The temple fell in 70 AD. By 73 AD, the Jewish people were gone, scattered around the world, with only a hope, with only a promise that they would return to their land. Over 1,900 years later, they returned to the land. In 1948, they finally come back into the state of Israel against all odds after the terrible Holocaust, World War II in Nazi Germany. They come back in as a Jewish state, and what happens? Immediately, the Jewish people come from all corners of the earth to come back into their holy land on a promise, a 1,900-year-old promise that this land would be theirs again. They maintained their culture, their identity, their language, their religion, despite being sent to the four corners of the earth. Well, of course, this goes against the Islamic worldview that says, no, since 700 AD, we've been here with the Dome of the Rock, right there on the Temple Mount, where your temple was. We have this for our religion. And of course, the Christian says, this is where our Messiah will return a second time as the roaring, conquering Lion of Judah. So I looked at him and I said, you're right, you nailed it. There is no rational basis for why we battle over this small territory in the Middle East. Is it what? Is it a beachhead for democracy? No. Is it resources? No. Is it access to the Mediterranean? No. By definition, if you really look at it in totality, this is a spiritual battle. This is a spiritual reason that we all, as nations of the world, dedicate so much time, so much energy to what's going on in that tiny little place called the Holy Land.